Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this FluidDraw webinar by Festo. I think we'll give it a few more seconds to allow everyone to get into the webinar, and then I will kick it off. So. All right, I think let's start at this stage. So I would like to present FluidDraw today to you. We'll amaze you with a quick, safe and reliable way of doing pneumatic and electrical circuit diagrams using FluidDraw. Presentation is by myself, Thomas Holtz from Festo, South Africa, technical support, and I'm joined by my colleague, Marcus Clement. Marcus, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Hi everybody, yes, my name is Marcus and I'm product manager at Festo headquarters in Germany, product manager for FluidDraw, and yeah, that's why I'm really pleased to join Thomas here with the webinar today. So before we really start with our live demonstration, Thomas, let's talk about the possibilities for the attendees to participate and to ask their questions.
100%. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, some quick house rules before we get going. All microphones are automatically muted, just to avoid any hadidas and dogs in the background, so make it streamlined for the audience. If you do have questions, please feel free to type them. There's a question bubble for you on the right-hand side in the webinar. You can type in your question. It is anonymous. Only us presenters will see it. There will, however, be a Q&A at the end of the session. If you do have questions, we'll unmute you at the end. You're welcome to then talk to us. And then finally, the webinar is recorded. So you can listen to it again if you want to afterwards, or share it with colleagues who weren't able to attend today. The recording, however, will not have questions or participant names due to Privacy Act, so that will not be visible. All right, so let's get into it. FluidDraw. What is FluidDraw? Where does it come from? So in the early days, drawings were very tedious, took a lot of time, were mostly manual, had to be drawn out individually. You had to figure out which symbols to use, be it pneumatic or electrical. You had to work on paper, so there was cross-referencing errors. There's a big chance of making other mistakes, and it cost you a lot of time. So with that, Festo saw a gap in the market and created FluidDraw. FluidDraw is designed to make you more productive, save you time, thereby spending more time selling your machines and less time designing them. And spending more time on the actual production. So with FluidDraw, you have a very intuitive, easy to use software that does the admin in the background and allows you to do pneumatic and electrical schematics. And today we would like to elaborate a little bit on FluidDraw P6, P6 being the latest version of FluidDraw and making it an online platform for your convenience. Right, so what we'll try and cover today, we'll go through FluidDraw P6, give you some of the novelties, the updates, some of the advantages, and show you how intuitive it is. I'll take you through the download and installation process. How do you go about getting FluidDraw and running it on your PC or desktop? And then Marcus will round it off nicely with a practical presentation, giving you an exact idea of how easy it is to run the software. And we'll end it off with a nice surprise. We've got a special feature for you that Marcus will demonstrate. That's a real nice added bonus for you. Also keep in mind that currently from this webinar till the end of August, we are running specials on the Festo South Africa website. So if you purchase FluidDraw from us, you have a 20% discount for you during this period. So make use of it. Great opportunity to purchase. Right, so give you some overview of FluidDraw. What is FluidDraw? What makes it so unique? FluidDraw comes standard with pneumatic and electrical symbol libraries. So all your standard symbols for your components are already available for you. Also on top of that, we've added the Festo product catalog. So you can add any Festo product with a click of a button to your design. very easy and efficient. Extensive drawing functions, so you have access to all your T pieces, elbows, Y pieces, anything you want to add in for your pneumatic design can be added in from the drawing functions. Support for multilingual projects, so you have a real advantage here. So if you work in an English environment, but your end customer may be French or Italian or German, you can convert the project to suit their language preference very easily. You have a bill of material that gets added as you design. Your bill of material gets built, so you know that at the end you have a complete BOM for your system. You know exactly what components you need to create your design. Very efficient. Marcus, maybe you would like to add some of the features for P6 that we've introduced extra.
Yes, so at the end of 2018, we launched FluidDraw P6 to the market, and we added a lot of new symbols in the electrical part and also new functionality when it comes to representing electrical schematics. We also redesigned the whole valve terminal topic. So you will have a new representation of valve terminals now. I will show that later in the live demonstration. For example, we also included a drawing frame editor to fit the drawing frame to your needs. That was also possible in earlier versions, but it's quite intuitive now. Then we added more flexible reports. So in the older versions, you only had a parts list and some more special reports, and that's much more flexible now with the new version. When it comes to license management, it's also a lot more flexible now. The distribution on the one hand, where you get a ticket ID with all the licenses inside, and on the other hand, the management of the licenses. You have the possibility to borrow the license to your local machine if you need to go offline, or you can activate the licenses on a local server and share the licenses. Yeah, that's way more flexible now. And I think that's also the next topic, right, Thomas? You will show where to get the setup of FluidDraw and what licensing options are available.
100%. Thank you, Marcus. Yes, indeed. So where do you get download and install FluidDraw? We have two different platforms, which I'll go through now. Web interfaces, so web pages, either Support Portal or Festo App World. Support Portal is accessible to download the software, and the App World we have created to manage all our licenses, so you can purchase the license in the App World. So how does this work in detail? The Festo App World is a website that we have to manage all your Festo licenses that you purchase from us. How it works is similar to our online shop profile. So if you have an account with Festo and an online shop user and password, you use exactly the same information to log into the App World. Should you not have an account with Festo and you're still interested into software, you're welcome to phone our Customer Interaction Center. They can set you up with an account and get you access to the App World. How it works in basics is you can go to festo.com/FluidDraw for more information on FluidDraw. But to log into the App World, we have two ways of doing it, either on the Festo ZA page at /ZA EN app or festo.com/App World. Keep in mind that once you've logged in, that you do see the ZA symbol on the top right-hand side of the web page. That means you're on the South African website for our local customers. Then once you're in, you can either log in or browse the App World. The App Worlds are located under the Apps tab. In the Engineering Tools, you'll find FluidDraw. If you go into FluidDraw, you'll have a pop-up screen that says that looks similar to the one on your screen now. Once FluidDraw P6 gets shown, you will see the licensing options, and if you are logged in at this stage, you can see your pricing. If not, you will see a screen similar to mine. To see pricing or to purchase, you need to log in. Once you are in, you'll see there's two different licensing modules. The one license on the left-hand side is FluidDraw 365. 365 is an annual subscription fee, so over 12 months. Very flexible licensing system. It's economical, it's a well-priced, and it renews automatically every 12 months. So with that, you have access to all our standard updates, any upgrades on the FluidDraw version, any new features that are added are available for you on that 12-month license. And should you need to, you can always stop the 12-month subscription fee if you so desire. The other alternative is FluidDraw P6. It's a perpetual license. With this license, you have the license, you pay for it once. You have the license for the rest of the lifetime that you require it. The license entitles you to any updates or upgrades for P6. However, keep in mind, if Festo were to move to a P7 or P8 platform, then the P6 license will not upgrade to the newer version. However, P6 license will still be valid for you. Right, so with the licensing module, it's a very, very flexible system. So once you're on the app build, you've decided which license you want, you to go to your cart, you enter it into a cart and purchase the license. Two things happen. You get an automatic email to state that you've purchased the item, and your ticket ID or serial number gets created immediately. So with this ticket ID, you have access to then download, install, and validate your FluidDraw purchase. So the advantage here being that you do not have to wait for the license to get to you. There's no delay. It's instantaneously. You purchase the license, you have the license. Also, you cannot lose the license because it's on an online server. It's no dongle, nothing that can get broken, stolen, or lost. So you have the license always for you. If you need to reinstall or change PCs or do something, then you still have a valid license available for you. The license itself is flexible in the sense that once you've installed it, you have the option to install it to your PC. So you can install it just one license on your PC, or you can install it as a server license. The server license means that the license itself is managed on the server. So when you log into FluidDraw, the server will allocate a license to you and you can use it. And as soon as you close FluidDraw, the license gets taken back to the server. The advantage here being that if you have a design department of 3 or 4 or 5 people, you may only choose to have 3 licenses or 2 licenses. That way the users can share these licenses, making it cost-effective alternative for you. However, keep in mind 1 license per user. So if I'm using the license, no one else can. Only when I stop using it, it gets relinquished. So very, very flexible system. I think at this stage, I'd like to say, Marcus, can you take us away for the practical examples or show? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the explanation. So I will take over and show my screen. And yes, you are seeing FluidDraw now. If you did all the steps that Thomas just explained, you have the setup installed and you have activated a license, and this is where you are now. So above we have a menu, obviously, and on the left side you will see the standard symbol library that is included in FluidDraw. And now I will start here and create a sample project for you and add some pages, add some products, show you the most basic functionality of FluidDraw. We could, of course, also cover our whole day, but I think the next 10 to 15 minutes will give you a good indication of what is possible. So I'll just start my project with File, New, and Project. And this will immediately give us the properties page of that project where I see my file name and I can change the description and call that webinar, for example. We will later come back to these properties. I'll close that down, and here in the project panel you see the project tree now. Top node is our project node, and FluidDraw always creates the first blank page as well. So you can start away directly with drawing on that page. That page is blank at the moment, and before I start drawing, I want to define a drawing frame. But I will not define that drawing frame only for that particular page. I will define the drawing frame on project level so that I have the possibility to inherit that drawing frame to all the pages that belong to the project. So I'll do a right click here and go to the properties page again, the window that we know from the start. And one tab here is the drawing frame. So you can go here and select a drawing frame. And there is a couple of standard drawing frames from A0 to A4 that is already included in FluidDraw. And that's a pretty good starting point, I think. If you want to change something in the drawing frame, you can. I recommend to create a copy and then edit that drawing frame. That will take you to the drawing frame editor, and then you can change the logo, for example. For now, I'll just stick to that standard here and click OK. Now my drawing frame is a project property, and let's check how we can make use of that in the page properties. We already see the drawing frame here in the back, and just to show you, I will go to the page properties. That window will look quite similar, and we also have the drawing frame tab here, and it says inherit from the project. And the good thing is, once I define the drawing frame on project level, I can add more pages, and these new pages will always have the drawing frame defined in the project properties. So let's go here and call that second page or something like this. You will see the page number is created automatically. You could change that as well. And now we see also our second page immediately holds the drawing frame defined in the project. So let's have a look what we already see in the drawing frame. If we have a look at the text block here, we see the project name, webinar, and we see the page name. That's directly described here. We see the page number and the total number of pages. So in this case now, that's counted automatically. We have 2 pages, and this is page number 2. If I go back to page 1 by double-clicking here, we will see that down here, project and page do have the same name. And this is, of course, page 1 out of 2. What else do we want to see in the drawing frame? You have the possibility to add a date or your name. You will see that if you move your mouse over the drawing frame, that some of these boxes are kind of highlighted and they have a blue frame. And all these can be clicked, and then you can define the date. So click here, and again, I'm in that page properties window, and here I see that attribute, which is the date. And at the moment, I cannot change the value. I cannot edit the value because I hope that makes sense to you. That value is also inherited from the project like the drawing frame. So now I can decide if I want to define the date and, for example, also my name on the top level, on project level, or if I want to define it for each page individually. Then I could stop the inheritation, and now I can define a date here. But usually I want to have the date for the whole project, and that's why I click Find Target here, which will take me to the project properties. And here you have exactly the same properties, and you can add the date here, and you could also directly add the name here or any short code if your name is too long and won't fit in that box. So click OK and OK. And now we see it here directly in the drawing frame. And the good thing is now we see it on page 1, and we will also see that on page 2 and all other pages that I add during the webinar now. So that's the drawing frame. No, quite short explanation, but I think you get the trick behind it. In general, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and I will then answer them later. Or we could also have a discussion at the end of the webinar, of course. So now I'm set with the drawing frame, and I want to show you how we can use symbols in FluidDraw. You will see the drawing, the standard symbol library on your left. And you will also see that the symbols here are grouped and structured by the purpose of use, like actuate, operate, switch, and so on. And that purpose of use also defines your identification letter, which is M for actuate and operate. And by the way, that's exactly the same system for pneumatic components as for electrical components. So you will also see that here, actuate, operate for electrical actuators, which are motors, and then you will have the same here for pneumatic actuators, which are pneumatic cylinders, for example. Using these is done by drag and drop. You can drag them from your library to your page, and then you can add more and more, and you have these symbols available, like that, for example. Once you have them, you already see you can move them, you can rearrange them, and of course you can connect them. You have the possibility to do that by drag and drop again, and FluidDraw will create a connection which will stay in place. This is probably the most simple way of connecting these components. So at the moment, I'm only working on symbol level. I don't know what kind of pneumatic drive I'm using here, what part number it has, how big it is, and so on. And I want to show you how we can display that information in a parts list once we connected these symbols to products. As a demonstration, I will start by inserting the parts list. So you go to insert, and all reports like the parts list are now here. Here we have two parts list templates, an accumulated parts list and a single position parts list. So click OK. And here you have the properties of the parts list, what to display in the parts list. I will switch that to include this page's components only, then click OK. And now we see these components here. It definitely makes sense to show the identification, I think. So by double clicking any object in FluidDraw, you can access properties. That also works with the parts list, for example. And this will give you the option to display the identification. And these texts are can be moved around your symbol. And if you move the symbols, they will of course move together with the symbol, so they are attached to your symbol. If you want to remove something, simply select it and click the delete key, and you will see the parts list always represents your drawing. So there's no need to update the parts list and to put anything manually in the parts list. So at the moment, we don't see any part number or type code, and that's what we want to change now. We started with the symbol, and now we are looking for product information. And to do that, again, I double-clicked that symbol now, which gives me the properties here, and then I can have a look at the catalog properties first, because they are empty now, and I will demonstrate you how to fill them from an included product catalog. So you can click on Find here, and now you have a list of parts that match this symbol, and these are 66 in that case. And you could go through that page now, through that list now, and select the product you want to use. And then all these properties like part number, type code, and so on will be copied down to that specific symbol. Let's do it. Click OK or double click the line, and you see all these attributes now here as catalog properties. If you click OK, you will see that again the parts list directly was updated. And you also have the possibility to show these properties here on your page as well. And then in this case, also that text field will move around with these symbols. So that was one possibility. We start with the symbol because we don't know yet what product we want to use. And then after that, we assign product information to that symbol. I will now show you the other way around. So most of the time, I think we already know what product we want to use, and then we can turn that around and we search for the product, and FluidDraw will find the correct symbol. Various possibilities. You can go to Insert and insert from Festo catalog. Here we are. And now you can search the Festo product catalog that is included in FluidDraw. If you want, you can also add your own product database. That's also possible. It requires some manual work, but it can be done. Festo components are already included. And now let's search for a valve, VUVG, for example. And now you can go through that list and you will see different representations of that product, and you may decide which representation you want to use now. So that representation would be better if you want to use that product on a manifold rail, for example. And this will be a better representation, I think, if you are using a standalone valve. So after that, add it to the selection, click OK, and FluidDraw found the correct symbol for you, and you can go on and use it in your drawing. You will see it's directly here in the parts list, and it also contains the catalog properties directly because I imported it from the catalog. So again, connect that. And now I want to add silencers down here. Another cool thing that we developed for FluidDraw P6, you don't need to go individually through all these connectors and define silencers. You can select both of them, do a right click, and select the silencer as a terminator. And now you have these silencers connected to your symbol, to your valve. If you want to show these silencers in the parts list as well, you can double click that like any other option, like any other object, and you have the possibility to display that in the parts list or not. If you do display it in the parts list, of course, it makes sense to also assign product properties to that. So use it exactly the same way as you would have done before. Start with the symbol, find the correct product, click OK, and you will see that in the parts list now. So something that's still missing is maybe some air underneath it to operate it all. And to do that, I will show you a way how to search the library. You can search symbols by symbol description if you do not know where to look for that air supply, and then you can search for air supply, for example, and then I see, here we have compressed air, and that would be found in the pneumatic symbols in the folder generate. There it is, and you can click OK and integrate it directly, connect it to your valve. We will see that also appears up here in the parts list. If you do not want to see that in the parts list, double click it, uncheck that option, and there you go. So usually that will be the way you can work, which is very, very quick, I think. Add something from the catalog and then connect it. I promised you an example of a valve terminal, and to do that I will use my second page, so maybe rename it to valve terminal, and you see that also is renamed directly down here in the drawing frame. To add a valve terminal, I will show you another possibility to add products to FluidDraw. Maybe you do know this little tool here called Festo Quick Search, which gives you direct access to a lot of product information of Festo products. And you can also add any product that you see here to FluidDraw. You can do that with a whole parts list or with an individual product. So I prepared a configurable valve terminal. This is the individual configuration. I could check if this is a correct configuration, and I hope it is. And once this is confirmed, I will insert this to FluidDraw. Here we go, and we'll now see a parts list that is inserted to FluidDraw. At the moment now it only contains one product. Click OK, and you can define the position where you want to put your symbol. So here we will notice that it is just too big for the drawing frame. We could now enlarge the drawing frame, or we use another function that is now integrated in FluidDraw. You can select that and then distribute that valve terminal to multiple pages. So FluidDraw will cut the valve terminal representation and put the different parts on new pages. And FluidDraw will also create hyperlinks, redirects between these pages. FluidDraw gives you a good proposal here. 2 would fit quite well. You could also define that to be 4 pages if you want to draw every valve on one individual page. So that's completely up to you how you would like to manage that. Click OK, and now we will see we get another page here. That's the second page of the valve terminal. And you will see you get a cross-reference here at the end to page 3. You can follow that in FluidDraw and jump to that target. And by the way, you could also follow these links in the PDF if you export a PDF. So jump to target, you're back here. And up here now, you have a lot of space to draw all the actuators that are operated by your valve terminal. Good. That was a first and very quick demonstration of what is possible with FluidDraw. How about the questions box or the chat? Thomas, were there any questions so far?
Yes, thank you, Marcus. There's one question here asking if the parts list is core products or MLP products. Maybe you could just elaborate on that in terms of your Festo catalog. What products
Okay,
are
so
available?
yeah, that's good. Good question. That is the complete range of Festo products, so not limited to any segment, core products or standard products or something like this. So you will see here, this is the number of items of records in that list, in that database. So it's about 30,000 components here. You will see that not for all products there are symbols available. So there are some mechanical products where you just don't have a pneumatic symbol or an electric symbol. So in this case, there will not be a symbol. Let's see if I find an example. So yes, these HNCs, these are mechanical components that are used to fix your cylinder, and you can add that to FluidDraw as well if you want to, but there are no pneumatic connectors, so there's no symbol. If you want to, you could add that picture here to FluidDraw. Yeah, that was 2 now. And I could delete that and paste it up here. So if you want to, you could use that picture to indicate that this mechanical component is used together with that cylinder. And in that case, this H and C is also in the parts list included. So if you export that or use it wherever you want, you will have a complete parts list.
Right, thank you, Marcus. Great, man. There's a second question here asking, are we able to do loop drawings with FluidDraw?
Loop drawings? I'm not sure what that is. So I'm sorry that I can't answer that at the moment.
Okay,
Maybe you
100%.
can
I think we'll
explain it a little bit more and get in touch with us.
maybe when we open the mics, we can just ask for the question to be repeated.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. And maybe Marcus, if you want to finish off quickly with the special surprise that we have for FluidDraw now.
Thanks for reminding me. So it's my honor to show that surprise. And to do that, I will go to the Festo website or to the app world of South Africa that you see here. We are on the South African app world now. And here, if you search for FluidDraw or you navigate here to the engineering tools, you will find FluidDraw P6. And yeah, what we were talking about is that trial license. If you are signed in, you have the possibility to request a trial license, which is valid for 30 days, and you have the possibility to test FluidDraw for 30 days. Yeah, that's what we wanted to tell you. And I'd be very happy if you just go there and download the trial license or request the trial license and use FluidDraw and see if it helps you.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Marcus. That was a very informative and a good overview. Shows you how flexible and easy to use, intuitive FluidDraw is. It's a really nice software. And then also to keep in mind, if you purchase FluidDraw right now, you have a 20% discount available till the end of August. So do make use of it. We look forward to your order numbers. And then I think, Nikita, maybe you want to open up the audience for a Q&A session, if that's it. And then we want to thank you all for attending this morning for this session.
Thomas, the audience
Yes.
have been all unmuted.
Okay,
They can
100%.
unmute themselves to ask a question.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any questions, please unmute yourself and ask. We'll be more than happy to answer you.
Thomas, it's Barry here. I think that loop control is maybe the guy was talking about like open loop and or closed loop, if I'm not mistaken. Could be that, I'm not too sure.
Okay, 100%. Thank you, Barry. Yeah, 100%. If we can't explain it now, we'll definitely get back and explain the or get more information on the question. I'm also not aware if the person wants to can ask the question now. Otherwise, we'll get back to them after the session.
Yeah. So is it the idea of your pneumatic architecture? So if you have more than only one that you are not using these architecture, but or using something like a loop here. So you have your compressed air which loops here, and you could add any actuator or valve to that loop, but I'm not sure, I must confess.
And Marcus, we can add sensors or proximities, right, for feedback in that sense, can be added to FluidDraw, right?
Yes, you can. I'll show you that. These sensors is a good example for an electrical or some sensors electropneumatical components. Yeah, if you go here, you will see that for yeah, that may be a good example. For that SMT proximity sensor, you also have different views of that part. It also has no pneumatic connector, but it has obviously electrical connectors. So you could maybe use that representation in your pneumatic scheme, and you could use that representation in an electrical drawing. So add it to the selection and click OK. And now I could use that one here. In this case, using that symbol, it would probably make sense to use a piston with a magnet, so then it all makes sense. And I want to detect the end position here. And now this one is called BG1. This is the identification of that sensor. And that one down here has exactly the same identification. So these two symbols simply represent the same object. And if I now add a new page for an electrical diagram, I could use exactly that one here and cut it and then use it here on that page. Yeah, paste it here. And now these two are linked, so I could insert a cross-reference to my pneumatic drawing, and I can also jump to that target. And of course, I can insert a cross-reference here so that once I'm in the pneumatic drawing, I know where the electrical representation of that proximity sensor is located.
100%, Marcus. I think we have an explanation. I think the loop drawing is the electrical part of this. So the coil itself, can you reference that as the electrical part of the drawing?
The coils here?
Yeah, for the valve in this case.
Yeah.
Could you reference that for the electrical part?
Yeah, exactly.
To
So
show
it's
how that gets
quite
actuated.
similar. Yeah, I will show that. It's quite similar to these sensors. We could go here, and then we have some unplaced objects here, and you will find the coils of the valves in that unplaced objects section. So once I use that, let's add the identification as well, so QM1. Here, QM1 contains the coil MB1, and that's exactly that one here. So this coil is a so-called subsymbol of that valve QM1, and I can use exactly that in the electrical part. So use it, drag and drop it over here, and now it's quite the same or a similar symbol. I can also insert a cross-reference here, and I can jump to that target, and so I know which coil operates which valve if I have that direct routing and I'm not using a bus system.
Right, fantastic.
Yeah, and
Thank
of
you,
course,
Marcus.
then in the electrical part, you would use electrical input-output modules.
Okay, the question I was saying about the loop drawing, basically it shows the signal from the field of the instrument, whether it's a digital or analog signal, to the PLC. So on the way it'll show whether you got a loop isolator or a relay on the line, the connection points all the way through, where that's wide potential free, that type of thing. That's what I was referring to in the loop drawing. So it'll show from the field equipment to the junction box, equipment room, all the way to the PLC.
Okay, so not quite sure if I understood it correctly. You have the possibility to add, to define the identification here, definitely. And this is also the identification that will be shown in the pneumatic drawing. So you could write in any address as well that you want to use. And
Marcus,
then,
are you able to then add the junction box or the PLC or the connection to the PLC to complete the entire electrical circuit?
yes, you can. At the moment, that needs to be done manually still. So you could draw your own input-output symbol for the PLC. But we are currently creating more and more symbols, and we will also provide standard symbols for PLC for input-output modules. So you could use something like this, and then use a black box here with some input and outputs, and then we copy that. Here we go. And if I show the grid, it's a little bit easier for me. You could create a macro object out of it, then define some electrical connectors. Something like this. Okay, I think you get the idea behind it, and you can create your identification here. Always use the user-defined identification. You could always add installation and location information to the identification to create a complete identification for all the components. And then you could add designation here as well. So, and in this case now you can connect these on that input, and you could use that for the output if you want to, and then you can create a potential or a whole conduction line, an electrical one, and we only need one in that case. I don't know if we want to show that indication here. So this may be ground. Yes, and then you can connect it like this if you want to. Yeah, and we will certainly update the symbol library to also contain standard input-output modules, as well as input-output modules for the Festo components.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcus. That's wonderful. It shows you how flexible and easy to use the software is. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're still available for you. If you have further questions, you're welcome to ask now. If anything about the licensing, FluidDraw, where to access it, if you want to ask Marcus more questions on the actual use of FluidDraw, please, you're welcome to unmute and ask now, or type a message, whichever's easier for you. Yeah, and if not, we thank you for your time today, coming through and watching. And as I mentioned, this will be shared with you later on in a link. You're welcome to re-listen to it or share it with your colleagues who weren't here today, that they can also see the benefits of FluidDraw. Thank you very much. And Marcus, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming through for us.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you very much.
Well done, gentlemen. Much appreciated. Very informative.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
I must say I learned a couple of tricks today, but there's still a lot more to learn, I see.
Thank you, Barry. Good, man.